Haunted Island, Indian Ocean. 30 Days of Terror reveal unexplained sinister secrets. Sarah's heart raced as she pulled into the drive of their new home, the shadows of the island creeping closer. A coastal paradise? More like a hellish trap. The cottage loomed over them, its peeling paint and cold windows staring down like judgmental eyes. The ocean whispered secrets that curdled her blood, and just beyond the waves, something dark waited. The children giggled, blissfully unaware, their laughter mingling with the dark undertow of dread that gripped Sarah's throat. "Mommy, let us play," Lily squealed, dragging her brother Jake toward the water. The setting sun painted the horizon in hues of blood red and bruised purple, but all Sarah could see was the eerie darkness creeping in, as if the island itself were alive watching. Then, a shiver felt like fingers trailing down her spine. "Just a breeze," she muttered under her breath. But the whispers started. The whispers were not from the trees, not from the waves, but from something deeper, something primal. They wove through her thoughts like tendrils of smoke, urging her to turn back. Days blurred together. Each night fell heavier than the last. All remnants of light seemed to be consumed by something sinister. "Jax is my friend," Jake laughed one evening, voice jubilant yet unsettling. Her stomach dropped. "Who's Jax?" she asked, feeling the denial creep in. "He plays with me. He knows our secrets." Her heart sank as his words echoed inside her head. Secrets? What could he possibly know? Couldn't he be real? Just her tired mind playing tricks after night shifts. But each night, Jake's fascination with Jax grew. Maybe it was the stress. Maybe this island was all in her head. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she washed dishes, Sarah felt it again, a presence brushing against her thoughts, like the hint of a smile that slips into shadow. Each wave breaking against the shore seemed to call her name, pleading, warning. She poured the last of the dishwater, glancing toward the door. The air thickened, and a silence fell that was heavier than any storm. That night, the home creaked, almost alive, when a sudden slam slammed the front door. Her heart thundered. Not just the wind, something more sinister was waiting. She raced to the door, flinging it open, but only the darkness stared back, grinning mockingly. Sarah, Hank, the strange neighbor, stood there, eyes wide, his smile unsettling in the dark. "You should be left while you had the chance," he insisted, voice low and laced with a warning. "Stay away from my children," she threatened, but doubt clawed at her. Jake's laughter echoed again, free and wild. "Jax loves to play games," he said, and Sarah felt her breath hitch. The game was dangerous. The stakes? Her family's very souls. A scream shattered the silent night as a shadow flickered just beyond her view. Who was Jax? The island buried its secrets deeper, reaching for her. The darkness loomed, ever more inviting, as if it craved her surrender. Would her children escape its grasp, or had they already succumbed to its haunting embrace? Time was slipping. The night held its breath, waiting. What terror awaited them in the shadows? The next morning, pale light barely pushed through the cottage windows, leaving a dismal haze. Sarah's mind raced, tangled between dread and denial. Jake was still asleep, but Lily had already vanished from her bed, leaving only the faint echo of her laughter in the hallway. Panic clawed at Sarah's heart as she searched each room, calling her daughter's name. "Lily!" Her voice echoed back, swallowed by the oppressive silence. With every unanswered call, the walls seemed to close in. She stepped outside, shivering despite the tropical warmth. The air felt thick, cloying with fear. The beach stretched before her, a vast expanse of white sand and restless waves, but Lily was nowhere in sight. The whispers returned, sharper now. They rasped at her ears, each syllable ice-cold. "She's close, come play, stop it," Sarah hissed, pressing her palms against her skull as if she could squash the voices from her mind. But they only grew louder, weaving through her thoughts like an insidious melody. She dashed toward the shoreline, scanning the horizon, the edges of her vision flickering. The ocean churned darkly, appearing almost sentient, as if daring her to step closer. Something tugged at her sleeve, a small, pale shell that glimmered with an unnatural glow, lying half-buried in the sand. She picked it up, her heartbeat quickening as she felt a familiar sense of dread wash over her. This was not just a shell. It felt almost like a warning, but a part of her wanted to ignore it, wanted to hold on to the innocent belief that everything would be fine. "Lily!" she shouted again, more desperately this time, but her words were swallowed by the sudden roar of the waves. Then, a soft giggle sent a chill spiraling down her spine. It was Lily's voice, yet it sounded distant, echoing like it was carried by the ocean breeze. She turned toward the sound, her heart racing. What if her daughter was in danger? What if Jax was somewhere out there, waiting for a moment, ready to pull her into darkness? Following the sound, Sarah stumbled down the beach. Her breath hitched as she crossed a line where the sand darkened, the colors shifting from pale cream to a deep charcoal. The whispers intensified, swirling around her like mist. "Step into the shadows, shut up," she screamed, feeling unmoored, like she was losing her grip on reality. But she pressed forward, driven by a mother's instinct. Finally, she caught sight of Lily, a small figure knee-deep in water, her hair sparkling with drops of salt. "Look, Mommy, Jax is playing hide-and-seek," Lily called out gleefully, her tiny fingers pointing to an indistinct figure lurking just at the edge of the water, its form twisting and bending as if it wasn't entirely real. "Lily, come back!" Panic surged through Sarah, her legs propelling her forward despite every instinct screaming retreat. But before Sarah could reach her, the shadow shifted, a dark smile stretching across its face, a smile that sent waves of nausea crashing over her. It was Jax. The shadows seemed to wrap tighter around him like a living cloak, beckoning, whispering promises. "Play with us." Sarah, her world spun, and she fought against the suffocating darkness, reaching for her daughter's hand. But could she pull Lily back from Jax's grasp before it was too late? Or would they both be ensnared in an eternal game of hide-and-seek on this haunted island? Thunder cracked overhead, and dark clouds surged on the horizon. A storm was coming, and it wasn't just the weather. What was Jax really after? And how far would Sarah go to protect her children as the darkness loomed ever closer? Sarah's heart raced as her eyes darted between the darkening sea and her daughter, who seemed oblivious to the danger. Jax's smile grew wider, revealing teeth far too sharp for any human. The whispers twisted around her, seeping into her mind with insidious certainty. "Join us, Sarah. She belongs here. Lily, come back. Now." She felt her voice tearing at her throat. The words clawed their way out, desperate and raw, but her pleas only seemed to make Jax smile more. With her feet firmly planted in the damp sand, Sarah steeled herself. Jax's gaze was hypnotic, pulling at the edges of her consciousness, urging her to come closer. The shadowy figure gestured toward Lily, who remained afloat in the water, laughing as if they were merely playing a game. "Mommy, come play." Lily's voice rang out, bright and joyous, a sweet reminder of childhood innocence in stark contrast to the malevolence surrounding them. "No, stop," Sarah screamed, pushing against the tide of darkness that threatened to drown her. She took a tentative step forward, feeling the cool ocean water lap at her ankles. The moment her skin touched the water, ice shot through her veins, as if the sea were alive, trying to pull her under. "Join us," Jax beckoned, his voice smooth and dripping with deceit. "We're just getting started. Don't you want to play?" The laughter rang out again, both from Lily and the shadows, a cacophony that made her knees buckle for a second. She could almost believe that Jax was just a figment, that this was just an illusion brought on by the fatigue and fear creeping upon her. But as she looked at her daughter, she knew better. The shadows were no lie. "Lily!" She lunged forward, through the suffocating waves of darkness, ignoring the way they seemed to scrape against her skin like fingernails. She reached for her daughter's small hand, her heart pounding in her chest. The shadowy figure shifted, trying to step between them, but she was relentless. In that moment, Lily turned her gaze towards Sarah, confusion washing over her childish features. "Why don't you join us?" she asked, her sweet tone laced with a chilling echo. The monster was clawing deeper into her mind, twisting her little girl's words. "No, Lily," Sarah screamed, feeling panic surge like fire through her veins. How could this be happening? She was losing her daughter, losing her to whatever dark force Jax represented. Just then, thunder rumbled through the air, loud enough to shake her bones. The clouds swirled, dark and threatening overhead. A bolt of lightning struck the sea, illuminating the shadows for one heart-stopping moment. Sarah saw it, then a glimpse of their true faces, a writhing mass of horror, molded from shadows and nightmares. "Step closer," Jax whispered, his voice echoing in the hollow depths of her mind. "You'll see. You'll understand." "No, I won't let you take her." Sarah fought against the shadows, reaching again for Lily, her breath ragged. Was it too late? The waves crashed louder as if the sea were mocking her struggle. Lily turned once more, the innocence in her eyes slipping. In that moment, something inside Sarah cracked. The very fabric of her mind flickered, revealing truths she couldn't comprehend. Then, out of the depths of the darkness, a swarm of pale figures emerged, ghostly and horrific, moving with him like a tide. Each face contorted in silent screams, each limb reaching out. "What are they?" Jax grinned wider, now hovering just beyond the water's edge, the shadows enveloping him. "They're what happens to those who don't play forever trapped." Sarah's breath hitched. She couldn't lose Lily. Not like this. Would she have to step into the depths to save her? As the storm surged and the figures converged, Sarah made her choice. She would find a way to pull Lily back, no matter the cost. But the moment she changed direction, the tide shifted, the shadowy figures closing in around her. "Mommy, help me." Lily's voice was a distant wail now, swallowed by the howling wind. Could Sarah break the binding spell before it was too late? The waves were already pulling her closer to Jax, to the edge of the abyss. What darkness lurked beneath the surface? And could a mother's love be enough to conquer Jax's game? Sarah felt the very essence of fear wrap around her as the figures crept closer, their ghostly limbs reaching with a desperation that matched her own. Every heartbeat echoed in her ears like a thunderclap, and with each pulse came the jagged reminder of reality. She couldn't lose Lily, not to this nightmare. "Lily!" Her voice trembled, crashing against the wind. A chill bit her skin, ice-cold waves splashing against her, as Jax's laughter swept over the tumultuous sea, filling her head with echoes of torment. The shadows blurred around her, twisting into grotesque shapes, and for a moment, she thought she saw his true face. A gaping maw filled with darkness, waiting to swallow them whole. "Join us, we will play forever," Jax sang, taunting as the shadows danced closer. His form shifted like mist, but his eyes glinted with an unnatural hunger. With terror rising in her throat, Sarah held on to the last shreds of hope, but they were frayed at the edges, threatening to unravel completely. "No, you can't have her," she shouted, steeling herself. The chaos around her intensified. The shadows erupted like an angry tide, and the faces of the lost shimmered twisted and haunting. She felt their despair like a weight in the air. They were warning her, begging her not to step closer. Desperate, Sarah summoned her strength and pushed through the swirling dread surrounding her. She would do anything to save Lily. She had to reach her. The water surged, dragging at her legs, but she forced herself forward, her eyes locked on the flicker of her daughter's laughter. "Mommy, it's fun. Please come." Lily's voice trailed off, tinged with echoing sorrow as she floated further into the abyss of darkness. Her small hands reached for Sarah, a beacon amid the storm. But the phantoms moaned, pulling on Lily's limbs with a longing desperation that sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through Sarah. The shadows reached for her, sharp and clawing, scraping against her calf, dragging her back, 1,000 tiny horrors clawing at her sanity. She gasped, clenching her fists to keep from crying out as the pull intensified. Bubbles formed around her feet, a cruel reminder of how deep the darkness stretched beneath the surface. "Mommy!" Lily cried, eyes wide, innocence fading. "Hold on, sweetheart," she screamed, launching herself forward through the haze of despair. She grabbed Lily's hands just as the shadows paused, their silent screams a symphony of lost souls. The world shifted, a surge of energy crackling at their fingertips, but Jax's laughter washed it away, cold as ice. "Let go. You can't win," he shrieked, twisting in the shadows, the very darkness seeming to writhe around him. "No!" Sarah screamed. Panic surged through her. She could see the darkness trying to pull Lily down, deeper into the void. Her grip tightened around her daughter's small hands, but the shadows yanked back harder. "Mommy! Help!" Lily's voice was frantic now, filled with fear. With every ounce of strength, Sarah felt the surge of love and desperation mixing into a riotous storm within her chest. If she had to fight the very sea itself, she would. Summoning all of her instincts, she shouted with the raw power of a mother's sacrifice, "I will not let you take her." In that moment, the ground beneath her shook, the air screaming with the violent rage swirling above them. A crack in reality split open, a shimmering wavering just beyond the chaos. Sarah instinctively knew this was her only chance. With a fierce determination, she pulled Lily closer. But as the shadows closed in, something shifted. A figure, one of the forlorn spirits, broke free from Jax's grip and rushed at them with blazing eyes, reaching desperately for Sarah's heart. "Don't look away. They take what you love," it shrieked, torn between realms, before it vanished into the abyss with a gasp. Fear clutched at her throat. What if she couldn't save Lily? What if the spirits were right? Could she become just another lost soul trapped in Jax's twisted game? Just as panic threatened to eclipse her resolve, she felt a flicker of warmth flow through her, like a guiding light pushing back against the shadows. But would it be enough? As an unseen force pulled at her being, Sarah was left with a chilling decision. How far would she go to bring her daughter back from the brink? The storm roared around them, and Jax's laughter loomed like a dark cloud. What truly lay beneath the surface? Could Sarah hold on tight enough to escape the grasp of the sea's dark embrace? The moment hung heavy in the air, taut with despair. As Sarah struggled to maintain her grip on Lily, the pulsing darkness pressed in closer, almost maliciously eager to take them both, to snare them in its unending cold grasp. "Mommy, please!" Lily's voice trembled, a fragile note amid the chaos. Panic surged in Sarah's chest, threatening to drown her. "I won't let you go." Desperation dripped from her words. She yanked Lily's small hands, feeling the power of the shadows fighting back, almost as if they were alive, creeping over her body like an icy shroud. Jax laughed again, his voice like shards of glass slicing through her resolve. "You've already lost. Embrace the darkness." His figure swirled, a tempest of malice, eyes sparkling with twisted glee. In that moment, Sarah felt a fire igniting within her. It burned bright against the consuming darkness, igniting her fury. "Not today, Jax," she shouted, scarcely believing the words. She could feel the warmth spreading through her veins, instilling courage she thought she had lost. She tightened her hold on Lily, focusing on the warmth pooling within her. It felt like a living entity, pushing back against the cold tendrils wrapping around them. The shadows recoiled, bending and twisting like they were in pain. "We have to go, Lily. Hold on tight." She took a step forward, feeling the balance shifting. The ground under her feet felt electric, a pulsing heartbeat that synchronized with hers. As she pressed on, she noticed the dark mist swirling with increasing agitation, retreating slightly with every movement she made. The dim lights from the crack in reality became more vivid, illuminating the shadows struggling against them. "Mommy, I see it." Lily pointed, her voice rising with hope. "It's beautiful. Just a little closer, sweetheart." With every inch they moved toward the light, It felt as though a terrifying weight lifted, their path clearing. But lurking within the flickering light was a revelation that turned her stomach. Shadows began to form shapes, familiar shapes, faces of those lost and forgotten. They screamed, their hollow cries weaving through the air like a mournful chorus. "Sarah, don't listen," one spirit yelled, its eyes wild with agony. "He'll betray you. He wants your soul." The spirits lunged, grabbing at Sarah, pulling her back into their depths. She screamed, but the sound drowned in her racing heartbeat. The confusion clouded her mind. Were they allies or enemies? Was she leading Lily toward safety or deeper into the abyss? Lily squeezed her hand tighter, her eyes wide. "Mommy, don't let them take us. They're so sad." "I know, baby, but we can't stop." The shadows howled around them, swirling in a furious dance of rage. Every inch felt like war, like a battle against unseen forces that clawed at their very essence. Breathless, Sarah pressed on, pushing through the pain, the noise. The crack in reality pulsed, condensing, promising escape. But something deeper loomed beneath the darkness, was shifting, morphing, held together by Jax's laughter. "Go ahead," he screeched, twisting like a tornado. "Jump into the light. But remember, I will always be waiting to claim what you love most." With a deafening roar, Sarah launched herself forward, and the world exploded into blinding brilliance. But as the light engulfed them, a chilling realization struck Sarah like a fist. What if this was all part of Jax's game? What would await them on the other side? As the shadows clawed at her heels, Sarah was left with a terrifying thought. Was she truly escaping, or was this merely a new chapter in Jax's nightmare? When the blinding light faded, they found themselves in a place that was too quiet, too still. Where are we now?" Lily whispered, scanning the horizon. An icy wind swept through the eerie stillness, and Sarah's heart dropped. The world around them was painted in shades of gray, and shadows loomed, whispering familiar names. Mommy, Lily's voice trembled again. "I don't like it here." Just then, laughter echoed in the distance, sent chills racing down Sarah's spine. It was a laugh she knew all too well. "What have you brought home?" Jax mocked from the depths, his shadow emerging once more. Their nightmare was far from over. Could they truly escape the darkness? Or was this just the beginning of an even worse fate? The shadows tightened, wrapping around Sarah and Lily like clinging vines. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She turned to see the remnant shapes of lost souls flitting in and out of the dark. It was a ghastly carousel of anguish and fear. "They're waiting for you," Lily whispered, her wide eyes reflecting both terror and an unusual calmness. "They want us to join them." "Lily, no, we can't." Sarah gripped her daughter's hand tighter, the chill between them mixing with a hint of warmth from her own resolve. She scanned their surroundings, the dull landscape feeling like a taunting maze, entrenching them further into despair. Every direction bore shadows, every sound carried whispers. A low rumble echoed, pulling them toward the depths of that fear-laden silence. Sarah dashed forward with renewed determination, pushing past the haunting echoes of the past, ignoring the way they gripped at her ankles, trying to pull her back. A fleeting thought nagged at her. Was it only Jax they had to fear? In the midst of her struggle, a fog rolled in, thick and choking, wrapping around them like a noose. With every step, the fog swirled around them, morphing into swirling faces, each one holding a memory, a story abandoned in the dark. "Who are they, Mommy?" Lily's voice broke through Sarah's reverie, trembling with unyielding terror. "Just keep going. Don't look back," Sarah urged, her voice high with a mix of courage and fear. Jax's taunting laughter echoed again, wrapping around her mind like barbed wire. "You think you can save her? I am the darkness. It always wins." Sarah gritted her teeth, and with every pulse of defiance, the darkness shrank, the mist recoiling ever so slightly. Yet doubt began to creep in again. What if she was too far gone? What if the horror was irreversible? Just then, her eyes landed on a shadowy figure, a woman draped in forlorn grief. The woman raised a ghostly hand. "Help us find the truth. before it's too late. Her voice resonated with the weight of despair. Stay back, Sarah screamed, pulling Lily close as the figure dissolved into thin air, leaving an unmistakable cold presence lingering. An inexplicable tremor of fear surged through her. Lily, listen. We can't linger. We can't. But as they pressed forward, the haunting visual of the woman lingered in Sarah's mind. Was this a warning or a distraction? They stumbled upon a clearing eerily illuminated by a pale, sickly light. On the ground lay remnants of past lives, photos torn, letters half-burned, belongings scattered like breadcrumbs of forgotten memories. Mommy Lily knelt, picking up a rusted locket, its design dulled but still elegant. Is this ours? No. The word shot out of Sarah's mouth before she could comprehend it. Panic flared at the thought of their past mingling with the cursed atmosphere. Leave it. We have to go. Panic burned in Sarah's throat, punctuated by the tightening grip of the shadows around them. But Lily wouldn't let go. Mommy, I see them. They're in the locket. Desperation surged through Sarah. Jack's laughter echoed, his shadow enveloping them. A tangible shadow of their confusion. Join us. You belong here, a perfect family. A perfect life. The locket slipped through Lily's fingers, crashing on the ground, triggering a tempest of shadows swirling violently, raw souls writhing within. Screams echoed in the thick air, drowning out the cries of comfort. Lily, run. Sarah yanked her daughter up, barely keeping her own balance as the shadows flicked at their heels, turning vicious with a hunger that rippled through the very ground beneath them. They sprinted through the darkened clearing, only to find the path ahead vanishing into the mist. Terror struck deep. To where could they escape? And was safety ever truly an option? As Sarah felt the cold hands reach for her again, reality cracked open, revealing a sight that stole her breath. A door, aglow with a warm, inviting light, an oasis in their desert of despair. Mommy! Lily cried, but Sarah hesitated, heart racing. Could she trust this new vision? What lay behind that door? Do we dare? She thought, but Jax's laughter thundered behind them, twisting question into cruel urgency. Time is running out. Sarah, make your choice. With a final glance at the swirling darkness of memories, she reached for the door's handle. What lay beyond could be salvation, or their darkest nightmare yet. With a deep breath, she turned the handle, a chilling sense of dread flooding her veins. What awaited them on the other side might just seal their fates forever. The door swung open, revealing an unsettling brightness that felt almost unnatural. It wasn't a warm haven. It was blinding. The light was sharp and cut like glass, pain flaring in Sarah's eyes. She instinctively shielded Lily, her heart pounding with primal fear. The air wasn't fresh. It carried the scent of decay and whispers, a cacophony of lost hopes. Mommy! Lily pulled against her grip, her little hands trembling. Do we go? Before Sarah could respond, a force surged from behind, a gust so cold it felt like frozen fingers crawling along her spine. Jax's laughter echoed, harsh and mocking. You think you can escape? It's all a trick. Just like before, with every ounce of courage, Sarah yanked Lily close and stepped over the threshold. They stumbled into the blinding glow, blaring sirens coursing through her, desperate screaming all around. The light flickered, revealing a monstrous landscape that twisted reality itself. They stood on a jagged cliff, overlooking a restless sea that roared with dark waves. The water glistened under the sickly glow like a canvas smeared with blood. Shapes writhed beneath the surface, silhouettes clawing upward, and Sarah felt their longing, felt their desperation. Help us! Join us! The voices came crashing in, thick with sorrow. Don't listen, Lily! Sarah snapped, forcing herself to focus. She could feel the ground vibrating underfoot, as if alive, as if waiting for someone to break. The shadows from the edge seemed to morph, shaped into familiar faces, imploring her to yield. Mommy, I see them! Lily gasped, her voice small and filled with dread, her eyes wide as they searched the tempest below. Stay away from the edge, Sarah screamed, pulling Lily back, her heart racing as panic shot through her veins. The shadows seemed to swell, undulating with a life of their own, eager to drag them into the abyss. While you waste time, they grow hungry, Jax taunted from somewhere deep within the fog behind them. You're playing a game you can't win, Sarah. Desperation tightened like a noose around Sarah's chest. What was this place? A corridor of nightmares? She couldn't let the memories trap them, and yet Mommy. Look, before she could turn, a specter emerged from the mist. The woman from before her hand stretched toward them in supplication. You must find the truth. There's a way out, but you must be willing to sacrifice Eno. Sarah felt her world splintering. The voices of the pained deformed into a maelstrom, clawing at her sanity. I want to hurt my daughter. I want to. The woman's ghostly visage warped. Her mouth moved but no sound emerged. Just raw pain reflected in her eyes, a mirror of Sarah's own despair. It was too much. Each soulless cry, striking her, breaking her resolve. Mommy! Lily's voice quivered, dragging Sarah back from the brink of madness. I don't want to be here. Please. With a deep breath, Sarah whirled around, pulling Lily away from the cliff's edge. We don't listen. We find our way back. Together. No matter what. But as they turned to flee, the ground trembled, fissures spreading like desperate veins, and twisted faces began to rise, the shadows tearing away their sanity. Find the door. Find the truth. The woman wailed now, her form shaking with an energy that seemed ready to consume them. As they ran, Sarah felt the world thickening around her, the light swallowing them back like a beast. The voices swirled into a rising chaos, drowning out any sense of direction, a frantic chorus of horror that threatened to pull them under. Just as the waves roared higher and shadows reached hungrily, Sarah spotted another door in the distance. Glowing with an unsettling allure, could this finally lead them home? With terror winding around her heart, Sarah lunged toward it, pulling Lily along, desperation fueling her every step. As they reached for the handle, the ground cracked open beneath them, the weight of the shadows thrumming like a heartbeat behind. Will it take us back? Or deeper? She thought, but there was no time to contemplate as a whispering darkness surged from below, working to strip away what little hope they had left. What's on the other side? She gasped, heart pounding, and the door vibrated under their grasp, glowing brighter as though mocking their fears. Sarah's hand trembled as it grasped the cold, metallic doorknob. The glow pulsated violently, illuminating her frantic expression for just a moment before the shadows surged closer, creeping up her legs with oily fingers. Mommy, I'm scared, Lily cried, her voice sharp as glass shards in the storm surrounding them. I know, sweetie. We just have to push through. Panic roared in Sarah's chest, each beat a drum of dread. She shoved the door, her body weight propelling them both inside, heart racing like a wild animal against a hunter's trap. They stumbled into an enclosed space, the door slamming shut behind them with a finality that echoed off the walls. Dull light flickered from sporadic bulbs overhead, casting ghastly shadows across an array of familiar objects. Mommy? Lily's voice was a whisper now, wavering with uncertainty as she recognized items from their past: a crumpled stuffed bear, a worn-out picture frame, and a shattered toy block. The echoes of laughter from their home bounced off the walls, mingling with the horrifying ambience of this distorted place. What is this? Where are we? Sarah whispered, fear tightening its grip around her throat, as she knelt to examine the remnants of their former life. Is this where we were? I don't like it. Lily pulled closer, her small hands gripping Sarah's sleeve. But then the walls began to ripple, those mementos of bliss twisting into grotesque replicas of their lives. The stuffed bear's eyes darkened, fixing their soulless gaze on Sarah, while the photo frame cracked open, revealing scenes of despair rather than joy. Each item seemed to come alive, whispering secrets just out of reach. Don't! Sarah screamed, pushing against the sinking sensation wrapping around her. Stay away! She pulled Lily behind her, her voice rising. We will not let this get to us. The floor began to tremble as if responding to her defiance, and a chorus of voices surged from the darkness, merging into one singular cry, a desperate plea that clawed at Sarah's mind. Sarah, don't run from us. Run? Sarah clutched Lily tighter, feeling her daughter tremble. It was like a dare deflating her hope. Why would we run? There's nothing to fear. But even as she said it, the certainty in her voice cracked, shattering like the glass in the frame. "Mommy!" Lily whimpered, eyes wide as she caught sight of distorted shadows shifting toward them, figures morphing into twisted versions of those they lost, faces of sorrow, mouths stretched in silent screams. "I said stay back," Sarah roared, stepping forward. The shadows recoiled, and for a moment, the air felt lighter. The shadows momentarily banished from her eyes. Hope flickered. Maybe they could break free. But then the ground surged upward, folding in on itself like a terrible wave. "You should never have entered," a voice hissed, as cold as ice, echoing with the finality of a funeral bell. Sarah stumbled as the space transformed, walls closing in on them like a vice. "We have to go. Now." Just as they turned to flee, the door behind them cracked wide open once more, an inexplicable force pulling at Lily. "No, not again," Sarah screamed, her heartbeat drumming in her ears as she fought against the darkness that surrounded them. "I can't hold on," Lily cried, her feet dragging over the floor, suffocating cries of unseen entities closing in. "No." Sarah lunged forward, gripping Lily's hand with white-knuckled desperation. They were two souls battling to outrun the terrors that seemed to seep from every direction, clutching the hope that what lay behind the door wasn't the end. But at that moment, a blinding flash cut through the room, disorienting Sarah and momentarily leaving them vulnerable. In the chaos, she squinted toward the door, which began to close with a thunderous bang. "Mommy, look out!" Lily shrieked as darkness enveloped them. What lay behind that final door? A last chance at escape or an even deeper descent into hell? In the swirling chaos, Sarah felt the world twist again, and she braced herself for whatever nightmare might greet them. "Hold on," she shouted, ready to face the unknown again, determination fueling her days of terror. As they surged forward toward the threshold, she couldn't help but wonder one last thing. What if this time they couldn't come back? The air around them chilled, each breath becoming a cloud of mist as Sarah and Lily crashed through the door. It swung shut with a finality that resonated through the eerie silence, leaving behind equal parts relief and dread. They stood in a vast, dim cavern, illuminated by an unsettling light that seemed to come from nowhere at all. "Where are we now?" Lily asked, her voice breaking the haunting stillness, a small vulnerability in the midst of chaos. "I don't know," Sarah replied, the tremor still clinging to her voice. The walls of the cavern glistened, dripping with a black oozing substance that reflected faint echoes of their lives. Familiar shapes flickered in and out of view, taunting her with memories deemed too painful to face. "Mommy, look!" Lily pointed to a mass of shadows swirling near the edges of the chamber. They formed recognizable figures: aunts, grandparents, lost friends, all grimacing, mouths muttering indistinguishable warnings that echoed back to Sarah. "Go away," Sarah shouted, frustration igniting the fear inside her. But the figures drew closer, their faces twisting into grotesque masks of sorrow and regret. "These are just illusions," Sarah urged, though inside she felt a creeping doubt clawing at her resolve. The air grew thicker, almost viscous. A layered silence enveloped them, like a fog that pressed against the skin and belied the electric terror that hung in the room. Her heart raced as the memories of those they had lost slithered through her thoughts, taunting her like a predator circling its prey. Suddenly, the shadows lunged forward, a mass of swirling darkness enveloping Lily. "No!" Sarah screamed, lunging to pull her daughter back. But the darkness tightened, snaking around the child like a vine, its grip pulling at the very essence of her being. "Mommy!" Lily cried, her voice high-pitched and desperate. "Let her go!" Sarah shrieked, panic transforming into fury. Gathering every ounce of strength she could muster, she reached for the tendrils of shadow that wrapped around her daughter. The darkness hissed, retreating with a snarl, and Sarah managed to claw Lily from its grasp. But the victory was fleeting. From the back of the cavern, a booming voice resonated, deep and echoing. You think you can escape? This is a gate to the truth you deny. The ground shook, vibrating underfoot as fissures cracked open beneath them, revealing swirling depths of darkness. Sarah looked down into the void, a swirling vortex of misery and rage. It was a swirling reflection of every fear she had ever harbored, every doubt that plagued her. "We need to find a way out," she gasped, pulling Lily tight against her as the shadows resumed their frenetic dance around them. "Mommy, what do we do?" Lily's voice was small, breaking through the chaos. Then, from the depth of the shadows, a figure started to emerge, silhouetted by the unnatural glow. It stepped closer, revealing a face half-formed, shifting, unrecognizable in its anguish. "Don't you want to know?" it whispered, its voice a sickening blend of familiarity and dread. "No," Sarah screamed as the realization flooded her. The darkness was feeding off their pain, their memories. Each silhouette taunted with unresolved grief, urging them to remember, to relive moments better left buried. Lily trembled against her, too scared to look away. "Mommy, I don't want to remember." "I know, baby, but we have to face it," Sarah said, her mind swirling in a turmoil of regret and rage. "We can't let them keep us here." As Sarah stood her ground, the cavern began to tremble violently. The shadows swirled faster, closing in as if bouncing against the walls, threatening to smother them completely. What truth lay at the core of this nightmarish realm? What cost would they pay for freedom? "Hold on, Lily," she shouted, bracing themselves against the whirlwind of agony. They had to find the light even if it meant facing the darkest parts of their past. But as the darkness reached out with icy fingers, Sarah couldn't escape the growing terror that if they didn't act soon, this might not just be a battle for survival anymore, it could also be a confrontation with their greatest fears come to life. "Lily," she shouted, "we are not alone. We are strong." But were they strong enough to confront what lay in wait? The shadows surged around them, whispering fears and regrets that clawed at Sarah's spirit. But amid despair, a flicker of clarity pierced through the murk. She held Lily's trembling hand tightly, determination igniting within her heart. "We need to remember," Sarah shouted, her voice a rallying cry against Jax's suffocating influence. "Every moment, good or bad, made us who we are. They can't take that away." Lily's wide eyes met hers, fear still present but beginning to mix with resolve. "I remember when you made my favorite cookies," she said, pulling a smile from deep within Sarah. "And when we went to the park, and those puppies followed us." "Yes, sweet girl." Sarah's heart soared, powered by her daughter's innocence. "Those moments are ours, our joy, our love. They keep us strong." As they spoke of cherished memories, the shadows faltered, recoiling as if truth burned against them like sunlight. The swirling figures of lost souls writhed but seemed to dim, losing their grip. "Keep going," Sarah urged, igniting hope with each recollection. "Remember the laughter, the adventures, your first bike ride, the day we found that funny-shaped rock and laughed all the way home." With each shared memory, the ground began to stabilize beneath them. She could feel the darkness ebbing, scared of their unified light. Sarah almost didn't notice that the tormenting laughter faded to murmurs then silence, leaving them in a calm that shook her to her core. Lily squeezed her hand. "Mommy, I want to go home." "Me too, sweetheart." But there was still one more thing that troubled Sarah, the relentless specter of Jax. She looked toward the dark vortex, knowing he lurked close, waiting for the perfect moment to assert his claim. "What is this truth?" she demanded, voice echoing in defiance. "We choose love, and nothing you do can change that." At her words, the ground shook violently, Jax's lingering presence tangible in the air. "Love?" he howled, his voice dripping with scorn. "That's what you think you'll escape with? You'll never truly leave. You belong to me now." Suddenly, a blinding light burst forth from Sarah and Lily, radiating warmth and purity that pushed back against the encroaching shadows. The veil that separated them from Jax swirled like smoke, shrinking away. Sarah could almost see Jax's true form contorting in rage, his exact face lost to the darkness. but she couldn't dwell on it. Now was her chance. "No, we are not yours," she shouted, channeling every ounce of defiance. "We are stronger, and we stand together." She felt Lily beside her, as real and unyielding as the ground beneath their feet, as if answering their proclamation. The pulsating light formed a shield, pushing the shadows further away. The swirling darkness began receding, unable to withstand the love binding Sarah and Lily. "This is your truth," Jack screeched, struggling against the force until he seemed just a shadow, pulling away into oblivion. But Sarah felt power surge through her, burning away the final tendrils of doubt. "Let us go," she demanded, asserting finality into the atmosphere. "You have no power here." With a final fierce rejoicing cry, she and Lily hurled their love, propelled by their memories, toward the shadows. The cavern erupted in brilliance as darkness writhed and collapsed upon itself. Consumed in the light and the chaos, an overwhelming rush washed over them. Sarah felt not just the shadows dissolve but an entire weight lifting from her soul. The familiar warmth of the sun kissed her skin, breaking through the once opaque fabric of their nightmares. Their eyes fluttered open. They stood again on the beach, golden sand beneath their feet, the calls of seagulls echoing above. The ocean sparkled, reclaiming its beauty, whispering secrets of freedom instead of sorrow. "Mommy?" Lily asked, looking around in awe. "Did we win?" Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she knelt, scooping her daughter into her arms. "Yes, my love. We are home." But a shiver cascaded down her spine as she glanced at the waves, just as a ripple broke their surface. For a moment, she thought she glimpsed Jack's form, fading in the wisps of the water, an ominous reminder of the battle they fought. Yet she held her daughter tightly, bolstered by the knowledge that love would always prevail in the end. As they walked along the shoreline, hand in hand, Sarah vowed to protect Lily against any darkness that might come again. Love was their strongest weapon, a shield they would wield wherever they went. They faced the horizon, dawn's light promising new beginnings. "Let us build castles, Mommy," Lily exclaimed, her laughter bright against the gentle waves. Yes, they would build, together. From that day forward, every moment would be a testament to triumph, an unbreakable bond forged in the fiercest storm. They would never forget, but they would also never fear. And as the waves lapped at their feet, a guardian spirit lingered just beyond the foam, watching, waiting, knowing they were finally free. If you loved this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss future exclusive tales. Smash that like button seriously. Help feed the algorithm to keep the stories coming. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions, thoughts, and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second. Instinctively share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how the story unfolds. You're the heartbeat of our community, so show your support today.